Good afternoon, friends. So, I left Bologna this morning. I'm most of the way to Venice now. But as I think I mentioned before, I'm stopping off for lunch in the afternoon in Padua, which is a very pretty place. That is my destination for now, the Abbey of Santa Giustina. Then I'm going to walk back up to the Basilica of St. Anthony. I'm a little less low drag than I usually prefer. A day pack. I'm carrying all my electronics because the left luggage place at Padua station predictably charges by the piece. And I wanted to save the €5, so I left Abbey, my pack, there. I'm lugging things around a little bit, but that's okay. I look a bit too much like a tourist to my liking. Vanity, isn't it nice? And yeah, so it's a beautiful day, rather hot sunshine actually. And I used the €5 I saved from left luggage pretty well. Walked into a PAM, which is one of the local supermarket chains. Took a beer off the shelf, put it in the freezer. Left, went across the road, had an espresso. 15 minutes later, walked back into the PAM, got the beer out the freezer, and I've just been in that rather lovely park for 20 minutes, sitting half in and half out of the shade, and enjoying a beer. So yeah. And this place for an abbey is pretty fucking big. Anyway. Right, so I don't quite know why actually, but I'm going to be a little more circumspect on this particular occasion rather than walking around filming. Just a feeling. But a little bit of history. This is the Abbey of Santa Giustina, Saint Justina, and there has been a church on this site for 1500 years. Early 6th century AD, and there was a church here, and then it fell into ruin apparently, and renovations and excavations were going on around 1000 AD, and with the excavations they found the bones of saints, and including apparently in about 1100 the bones of Santa Giustina herself. And that was when they built this very, very large basilica. You can just see the scale. It's built in the shape of a Latin cross. The cross, so going this way, is orientated to east and west, the cardinal points, which is pretty cool actually. It's rather Egyptian. It's a very large edifice, and it has been consistently renovated and excavated and dolled up restored all the way up until the present day. I think in 1917, the previous Pope Benedict undertook a really quite large renovation project to bring it back to its former glory. I don't know what it is about the basilicas, because this is the 7th largest basilica in the country. And it's really quite austere, and I am here for that. You know, there isn't a great deal of gilding until you get to the altars themselves. There are some very important side chapels because, as I say, you've got the opposite ends of the crossbar of the Latin cross. I'm headed that way soon. There's a confessory, so it's a whole wing. I'm going to go in there. I like it because it's spare, it's austere. There isn't too much to drown out the simplicity. I like that. Anyway. Okay, this is really quite interesting actually. Right, so what it says is on the 13th of March 1777 in this basilica with the organ just over there, Mozart himself, he said to his father, who then wrote it in a letter to this place after his death, that this place had the best organ and the best acoustics, that he had found them incomparable to any other. And this plaque was put in place on the 250th anniversary of Leopold Mozart sending that letter. Which is cool. I want to hear the thing now, of course. Right, so we're now in the oldest part. As I mentioned, the original church dates back to 500 AD, and this is the oldest part. It's been preserved. We have this memorial here, and then we have the oratory of Saint Prostocimo, which is difficult to say. That is his resting place there. He was the first bishop of Padua in 500 odd AD. His bones were uncovered in the 800s and have been laid to rest in this, the oldest part. It's, if you like, a sub-unit. Sub-unit, I sound like 7 of 9. An annex off of the main basilica that's been preserved and restored. Most of it is clad in quite tasteful marble and decorated to a degree not the best of the basilica has not been, but you can see the age of that. Oh yes, Anyway. So I've stopped in the shade to have some tea before heading into the Basilica of St. Anthony. And a few points about travel. It is entirely possible to travel on an absolute shoestring. I've been doing it all of my adult life. So far, in this city, I've been here for 3 hours. I've spent €5. That was on a coffee and a beer from a supermarket. Things to do, to do things as frugally as you can. I mean, the ticket on the train, which was an hour and a half, I guess. It'll be an hour and 45 minutes by the time I get to Venice. That was €16. I made my own food. I used the back end of the batch I made at my hostel. I still have half of it left. So I got off the train. I ate to prevent myself snacking and spending money on food. And I honestly think by the time I get out of here, I will have spent €5, which is pretty good for a 4-hour afternoon trip around town. Also, there's the matter of prioritization. Because if we see here, hold on, that sign there, there is a very impressive botanical garden in Padua. I did consider it very carefully because it's supposed to be absolutely beautiful. It is, however, €12 to get into. So one of the nice things about basilicae and churches and all the rest is they are usually free. So prioritize what you want to do. I ordinarily will choose one thing, whether it's a gelato or a coffee or a beer, or having a coffee and getting a beer from the supermarket, thereby keeping costs down. It is approaching payday. I have 5 days until I get paid, so I'm being very, very careful with money. Responsible, one might say. So it's entirely possible to travel extensively on minimal funds. And I'm really rather good at that. Yeah. Anyway. Right. So the Basilica of St. Anthony. Now, despite the fact that pilgrims from all over the world literally come to this place because it is one of the national shrines recognized by the Holy See, so it's very official. It is not, however, the cathedral. The Cathedral of Padua is the Basilica Cathedral of St. Mary, but it's the dominant place of worship. It's known locally as Il Santo, literally the saint. And this is the place where most people come. Construction began in 1232, which was 1 year after St. Anthony died. And it's really quite something. The exterior is very Romanesque, very red brick actually. The interior, reputedly, I haven't been in there yet, is more Gothic in style. And sidebar, okay, I keep seeing people, guys, in alpine hats, literally everywhere. I saw one guy in full lederhosen, and I have no idea what that is about. Okay. So, the ossuary behind me, relics of the saints, including, if you can see, someone's entire lower jawbone. I don't think I've ever liked that very much, but it's very interesting. Yeah, this place is jaw-dropping. And as everyone knows, I've seen some shenanigans. But if you ask me, it's kind of night to the Abbey's day, if that makes sense. The ceilings are quite dark, minimal windows, and like an Egyptian tomb, they have a dark sable blue sky with stars. And if I can get in front of the altar without messing anyone around, I will do so. It's an amazing place. As I mentioned, people from all over the world come to this place on a pilgrimage, and as you can see behind me, selfies, passport photos, people leave an image of themselves behind. It's pretty cool. Right, I'm tired now. So, I got to Venezia Mestre, which is the mainland part of Venice, which is where I'm staying, because of course to stay in Venice itself is rather expensive. And I hadn't sorted out my route to the hostel beforehand, because I had planned Padua, and because I'm stupid. Ordinarily speaking, I'd take a screenshot of the map in case I'm offline, but I hadn't in this instance, and the Wi-Fi at the station wasn't working. So I picked a direction and started walking the opposite direction, it turns out. Anyway, I ended up at this rather tasteful little cafe and walked in, ordered a beer, and asked to use their Wi-Fi. The lady gave me the Wi-Fi password and said, would you like a small, medium, or a large beer? I had seen them drinking large 500 milliliter bottles of Moretti outside. I said large. And they brought me a Steiner the size of my head with a litre of beer in it. Which, seeing as it probably cost me about 10 euros, I feel honour bound to drink. Then I've got a 15-minute walk back the way I came. Still such a rookie sometimes, Jeff.